Okay folks, we are back at it today. I told you what we had to do to replace those seals. Super easy. So now today's task is going to be to get this big sucker back where it belongs. So I've got the excavator fired up, warming up, and we're going to get the bucket picked up here in the bed, get a chain on it. I've got a lifting eye that I put in there, and then I'm going to put a strap around the back end. Most of the weight's going to be carried by the lifting eye, so I'm just going to put a little toe strap like those orange straps there on the back end just to balance it once I get it picked up, and I think that'll really help me be able to slide it right into position on the machine. So let me get her picked up and lined up here, and then we'll go from there. So there you go. Not quite what I think the factory had in mind, but it works, and you can see I've got it darn near perfectly balanced. So really, I think the weight of the whole unit is more or less balanced on that lifting eye, and you can see my little strap that I just put on there like I told you I was going to. It's just holding up that back end just in case something's not balanced. But what's really important is that back end be held up when I go to slide this into the machine, which I'll have to show you here in a minute why. But let me go ahead and swing this down and get it in place. Okay, let's hop down here and see if we can't line it up a little bit. Nice thing is when it's hanging, it's free weight, so, well, more or less. See if I can, I gotta get the outer end pushed out with both hands. Y'all got the right, wait a minute. And I got no traction, I'm on sticky clay. Alright, have to swing her out here just a little bit. Did it. Get back end around, watch that piston, watch those threads. Okay, so we got the front end put in here now. I'm going to have to pick it up a little bit and just guide it in. These guides and then this square box end right here has to slide into this square channel. So I'm just going to have to, pick it up, scoot a little bit, pick it up, scoot a little bit. I'm not going to film that just because I don't have enough memory on my phone, but I'll show you once I get it in. Oh, but the reason I was saying I got to keep this back end up is because we learned when we slipped that last one out, you look down inside there, first there's this round brace right here, then there's that round sort of, not sleeve, but just trough that the springs sit in. So if you don't keep this back end up, when you go to start sliding it in, the leading edge of each spring here catches on those lips. So you actually want to bring this thing in with the back end slightly higher if you can, so that you get up on top of those things. And then once you get the first couple springs on top of that trough, then it will slide right on in. So let me try to get it done. Okay, so we got it back in there, and I don't remember if I was supposed to give you guys an update along the way or not, but I'm sorry I didn't. This was no easy task. It took me, well, I don't know, I don't even know what time it is, an hour and a half. Oh, not too bad, yeah, hour and a half all told. And it's really not that it's heavy, because you're able to support everything with the machine. It's working down inside this beam where you got to try to get those springs and stuff lined up. I mentioned that to you at the beginning, about how you have to have a strap on the front and back. Well, just as soon as you start sliding the slack adjuster into this frame, your strap on the back starts to get in the way. It starts to get caught on top of the beam right there. So I had to move it forward. And then it was just a lot of real finicky, real easy up and down sort of stuff. The trick, I guess the real trick was when I had my original chain stuff strapped on the back of the bucket here on the lifting hook. And because of how the bucket and everything curls up, I really couldn't get close enough to the frame. So I ended up having to fold it out and hook my straps on the teeth so that I could be more over top of the beam and not out in front of it. Because with it on that lifting eye, when I was out in front, when I'd go try to pick up on the slack adjuster, it would want to slide out because it would want to, hang vertical. So the real trick was moving my strap to the teeth so that I could be more over top this beam, and then I got it just whipped right in there. So once I got the back end of the barrel up on that trough, that hung me up for probably 20 minutes. I was down here laying underneath trying to pry up underneath it with the crowbar, and that wasn't working. And finally I realized I could just pick up. I had enough room I could pick up with the machine and got it in. But once I got that up on there, everything slid right in. I just had to use my crowbar. I just used my crowbar, and I would kind of put it either here in the gap of the pads and press against the block on the side of the idler. And then once that was too far in, then I would put my crowbar in against one of the bushings and just raise up and let that idler roll itself on in. So once I got that done, man, just knocked it in there. So now the next task at hand is to pick this track up and get it folded back over the idler and pin back in. Good through, baby. All right. Now we'll just get our retainer pin made up and get that idler pumped up and pray to God that it holds grease this time and that all this work wasn't for nothing. It's done. It's finished. Well, aside from a few missing shoes, but I mean, that's a minor detail. So long story short, I had it put back together once, as I showed you guys, with the hammering the pin in and giving you the thumbs up, and I was so proud. And thankfully I thought, you know what, before I put my retainer pin in, let me go ahead and pump the track up and make sure all the seals and everything hold. Well, lo and behold, I'd started doing that, and the bolt that's in there that's in that piston that's used just as a thread protector was not threaded in all the way. So as I started pumping the piston out, that bolt hit a brace and bent, which then made it push on the grease zert, which it promptly broke off. So right as the track was just looking pumped up, grease zert busted, track went slack, and I was done for. So I cussed really loud, and then I stared at it for about 10 minutes and thought, you know, ain't no point waiting around. So I knocked the track back apart, slid the idler back out, put it in the bed of the truck, and drove on into town to the link belt dealer parts and service place. I called ahead and made sure they had the zert. They did. So I went and got that, and they were actually kind enough to use one of the mechanics went ahead and used a extractor to pull the busted threads out of the piston, and then we threaded the new zert in, made sure everything fit good. I ran back out here, and I got to tell you, I'm getting good at it, because the second time around, getting that slack adjuster in took me like, I don't know, 10 minutes. I mean, super fast compared to this morning. It took me, 2 or 3 hours to try to figure everything out and kind of look around at it and try to pry on it here and push on it there. And yeah, it turns out it slides in there pretty easy when you know what you're doing. So second time in was quick and easy. Flipped the track right up and over, got the pin back through, and then what took me the longest was just pumping that sucker up. It took about 2 tubes of grease to pump it up. And then to make my little custom retainer pin, I just went and got a piece of 3/8 inch round rod and heated it up with a torch, bent one end, and then when it was brand new, I tested it. It fits in there perfect, but something about once I got the pin in there, I didn't have as much space, so I couldn't hardly get it in there. So I spent about 15 minutes filing on it. Thankfully I had sense to buy a rasp, even though I wasn't sure if I needed it, but I bought one, and just filed off about 1/8 of an inch. No, not even 1/8 of an inch. I don't know, maybe a 16th something. Filed all the way around and then filed a flat back on it, and then I was finally able to hammer it through. So got it through, heated the opposite end, bent it just a little bit there, just enough to make sure it won't back out. We'll keep an eye on it as I start running the machine, but it's done. It's all put back together, and like I said, it took me several hours, but knowing how to do it now, I could yank it apart and put it back together, and optimistically, I'd say, I don't know, an hour. as long as everything went smoothly like it's supposed to. And that's pulling the idler out, the whole slack adjuster out, fixing whatever I have to, seals or zerts or whatever, sliding it back in, bolting track, everything. So it'll be interesting to see if I do it in the future, if there's a shoe on here, how much more difficult that'll make things. I imagine it'll make it significantly more difficult. So in the future I will be buying bigger sockets and pry bars and everything so that I can take off a select shoe if I need to. Anyway, for now it's done, and I can't wait to drive this puppy. As much money as I put into it, all I want to do is drive it. So I'm going to be riding off into the sunset. I'm just going to run out here and just do some quick digging just to make myself feel better.